After straightening out the other parts, we can spend some extra time on imagine it. Or was that like, incontinent, abide associative tubular activity, and conclude the fourth given descriptive meaning of incontinence. Yes, it is the thing when you pee in an elevator and bolt yonder, before your local sees the scene left by the execution sapien. Alas, one of the pastimes is delving into the sizzling topic of the sloppily put together sapien information exchange systems to carry out dialogue, also paradoxically derived into the present locker, such that the following unironic manifest can be conveyed. A single pitchfork and torch convention is unable to be spotted visually or otherwise upon the mention of statements surrounding the directly assumed temporal evolution of single exchangeable collects, giving forth that the continent was conicled much before incontinence was to echo in between the numerous valleys and the like. The two terms now in debate are not deemed deathmatch in the court of the moment. However, presently acknowledge the undeniable property that is the similarity of these afore raised on the pedestal. The whole staggering continent from continent is contained in incontinence, or continence, if you will. Continence and incontinence can be imagined interchangeably for the purposes of right now. So for the moment, the important piece of fact to put in your skull is that continent and continency or incontinency are hit into stone to nearly the exactly identical execution. Now moving forward to the sapien use, which is blind in the sense of convoluting the echoes or visual representation of the pedestal items, despite this being present in a wide option space of presently active exchange systems. The sapien suspended on a ladder, a sort of boggling logic to the description of why the sapien argumentation is to make sense, which exists to be the following. Instead of the pressure wave or photonic absorption, special attention is concentrated to funnel into derivation from the term contain. This contain is like the container, containment or other similar contain type manufactures, with the information of having something within control limits, and prevent the escape of what is being contained. See, these terms all echo the same and give forward or backward identical nucleus content precisely as does the term content itself. Now to exercise the continence and incontinence. Merriam giveth forth that exercise incontinence for the sapien is successful by the third orbit in bad cases, I assume, and though restrictively obsolete, this fragment chronicles about the ability possessed that fluid matter is contained. Strikingly, it does not explain that it becomes a continent, which also would be silly. However, term's design was allegedly intended to exchange information, meaning that you absorb the echo or look at the stone that has been strategically hit with intent, and from there on it should be deciphered what the intended transaction was based on the terms, and not what the terms maybe mean, if you contain additional information about the term itself. Which is the problem, as this additional data has to also be stored in the tubular and processed, meaning that the sapien from start will need to use up more time to evolve to proficient use of this degenerate system of exchange to comprehend. Continentally, this is continentally a restrictive epitome to an even archaic mainland. It is for that reason that Isaac J. Newton and I have thrown picnic tables not only about moving or not moving of things, but also this term. Isaac had posted on a 2x4 that a continent to his understanding was, or rather is, to be imagined and realized as one of the presently 6 or 7 great divided dominantly solid land sector locatable on the marble, most easily from the distance. Humbly rewarding his decent comprehension of land masses, I handed him an apple, and proposed the argument we had been fighting around now for minutes at the bare minimum. Yes, my dear, it now just so happened to be well still not a team deathmatch, but more of a kill-confirmed scenario. Okay, so we have on the betting table this thing. If continent did not exist as confinement chambers with the term container or confining apparatus, then let's give the existence to the newly injection-molded term continence, or continency, or the identical with applied negation prefix, maybe even suffix or appendix, not limiting further modification of course. So I will not paint the picture of incontinent and incontinency, which just so happen to have become my more favorite, especially the single incontinent, which I have taken a liking of, particularly when in an elevator scenario these moments and before the ban. Here is the incontinent code, revised that continent chronicles with emphasis on one of the presently 6 or 7 great divided dominantly solid land sector, locatable on the marble, most easily from the distance. Then with this information fresh and without addition of DLC rules, change in your SKLL the term continent with now new subject of interest being the term incontinent. Easily solving this problem for incontinent, we state that an incontinent is not on one of the presently 6 or 7 great divided dominantly solid land sector, locatable on the marble, most easily from the distance. Thus incontinent points to the liquid matters that seemingly separate the presently 6 or 7 great divided dominantly solid land sector, locatable on the marble, most easily from the distance. Yes, the fluid one with fishes, the one with Atlantis, the one with the moving plates under and wavy waves on top, the one with the most difficult adventures, the one everyone knows but has never really seen. So no surprises can be chronicled about this incontinent, considering the factual file that the sapien does not know of this incontinent, but barely a sliver of a percent of a single continent and some popularly visited nodes with scam points. However, not to be consensus as logical still. A few more factuals can now be awarded for this incontinent favorite, with the intent to solidify this resolution. If there is one incontinent, the or an incontinent is only a single liquid matter. That seemingly separates the presently 6 or 7 great divided dominantly solid land sector locatable on the marble most easily from the distance. Then we know that all presently 6 or 7 great divided dominantly solid land sector locatable on the marble most easily from the distance are not separated by only one incontinent. In such a ways we somewhat disputably state that an incontinent is a single one, whilst there are many incontinents to be explored, at least a few. This is the sapien approach, where despite there seemingly being a single incontinent, there are multiple ones with designated labels. This myth we bust with the factual that salted liquids connect and flowably exchange fluid matter. The sapien merely did this supposedly for aesthetic reasons, though presently it is used for giving the tubular a bath. Thus the second finding to bash into the skull is the fact that marble has one large incontinent, the other smaller segregated ones are different. So yes, keep captive this locker solving a flammable mystery territory, and treasure it with cheese. All this merely because one once remembered Justin from the Wizard New York substation sandwich place philosophically debate how to give meaning on giving meaning of terms or symbols and their groups.